Good afternoon, students. Welcome back to the course of software testing methodologies. So today in this video, let us discuss about data flow testing. In our previous video, we discussed about the transaction flow testing. So now let us go into the second part, that is the data flow testing. I am Mr. Arvind Egireddy from the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. And this video is brought to you by Newton's Group of Institutions, Macharla. Coming to the data flow testing. So here today in this particular part of the session, we will discuss about the concepts of data flows. And in our next video, let us discuss about data flow testing strategies. So here, this is divided into three parts. One is basics, where we discuss about the introduction to data flow and data flow graphs, motivation and assumptions, and we discuss about the data flow model. And in the second part, we discuss about data flow testing strategies, where we will see the general strategies, definitions, and strategies like slicing, dicing, data flow, and effectiveness. And next, we will discuss about the different applications of data flow testing, tools, and its effectiveness. Now, coming to the anomalies of data flow testing. So here, the anomalies that arise in the data flow testing could be because of two reasons. Because of unreasonable processing on data. That is either use of the data object before it is being defined, or by defining the data object which is not used at all. So for these two reasons, we may get anomalies. And these anomalies, we are going to explore by using control flow graphs. So data flow testing, DFT, uses control flow graphs to explain these data flow anomalies. Now, let us see the definition of data flow testing. So what is a data flow testing? Data flow testing is the name given to a family of test strategies based on selecting paths through the program's control flow in order to explore sequence of events that are related to the status of the data objects. For example, pick enough paths to assure that every data object has been initialized prior to use, or that all defined objects have been used for something. So we have to assume that every data object that is being initialized prior to its use. And we have to assure that all the objects have been used for something. So by doing these two things, we can avoid the anomalies. Now, coming to the motivation. So here we have to believe that just everyone should feel confident about the program without executing every statement in it as a part of some test. Or one should not feel confident about the program without having seen the effect of using the values that are being produced by each and every computation. So it is our belief that one should not feel confident about the program without executing every statement in it as part of some test, or one should not feel confident about the program without having seen the effect of using the value that is being produced by each and every computation. And here, to the extent that we have to achieve this by using an reusable code. So in all known hardware technologies, memory components have been expected to be cheaper than the processing components. So there are some new paradigms for these data flow mechanisms. Here, the data flow mechanisms are programmable computers that are used to use the packet switching communication. And the hardware what we use in these data flow machines is optimized for the data driven execution and for fine grained parallelism. And this data flow mechanism that supports a recursion, because recursion is a mechanism which is used to map the virtual space to a physical space of any realistic size. And of course, it is one of the fastest mechanism. So here, the prototypes what we use in the data flow mechanism is taken as a processing or an working element. And the overheads that come in the data flow mechanism can be made acceptable by the sophisticated hardware, so that there is a sufficient parallelism in many computer programs. So here the problem in the data flow machine is in distribution of computations and storage of the data structure. And another problem in the data flow machine is to seize the parallelism, that is to stop the parallelism when the resource tend to get overloaded. And some of the data flow mechanisms are von Neumann mechanisms and MIMD machines, that is multi-instruction, multi-data machines. So in von Neumann mechanisms, the architecture executes one instruction at a time. So in a sequential order, that is a micro instruction sequence. That is, we first in a sequence, we have to fetch the instruction from the memory. We have to interpret the instructions. Then we have to fetch the operands. Then we have to process. That is, we have to execute. Then we have to store the results in the memory or register. Then we have to increment the program counter. That is, we have to find out the pointer to the next instruction to be executed. Then again, we have to go to the first step. That is, we have to fetch the instruction from the memory. Again, the same process we are going to repeat it in von Neumann architecture in a sequential fashion. So any pure von Neumann machine has only one set of control circuitry to interpret the instructions, and it will have only one set of registers in which the process of the data takes, and it will have only one execution unit for performing arithmetic and logical operations. So this kind of design, which leads to a sequential instruction by instruction execution, and which in turn leads to a control flow dominance in our thinking. So the von Neumann mechanism forces sequence onto problems that may not be inherently be sequential. So in data flow mechanism, we purely focus on parallelism. That's the reason we have to go for MIMD, multi-instruction, multi-data machines. So here MIMD machines, which are massively parallel machines, and they fetch several instructions in parallel. Therefore, they have several mechanisms for executing all the steps what we executed in sequential order in a von Neumann architecture. So here MIMD machines, they can also perform mathematical or logical operations simultaneously. And here these operations which we have done. So these are being done on different data objects. And in these machines of parallel computations, it is the compiler that is going to process the instructions. So here for MIMD machines, the instructions are produced in a parallel flow, while for a conventional machine, the instructions are produced in a sequential flow. So the parallel machines in the MIMD machine with multiple processors and sequential machines in von Neumann machines with only one processor. So now let us see the implementation, how this data is going to get implemented. For suppose if I have these instructions, the sequence of execution of the instructions is A is equal to N plus M, B is equal to P plus Q, C is equal to A plus B, D is equal to A minus B, E is equal to C into D. But what exactly we are performing is we are calculating the A value, that is M plus N plus P plus Q into M plus N minus P into Q given M N P Q. So here what we are doing, we are finding the E value by using this formula. For that, what we have done, first step A is equal to N plus 1, second step B is equal to P plus Q, C is equal to A plus B, D is equal to A minus B, finally E is equal to C into D. So what is C? C is equal to A plus B, that is M plus N plus P plus Q into D. What is the D? D is equal to A minus B, that is M plus N minus P minus Q. So if we are using an von Neumann paradigm, then all these operations are going to be performed in a sequential order in these many steps. Suppose if we are using parallelism. So in parallelism, while using the parallelism, we can execute by using control flow graphs in multiple representations, and we use data flow graphs specific for relations among the data objects. Then covering data flow graph implies exploring all the relations under some test. So here if we can see here we are reading the values N, M, P, Q. Then we are doing A is equal to M plus B, M plus N, and B is equal to P plus Q in parallel. And at the same time, in parallel, we are computing C is equal to A plus B and D is equal to A minus B. And finally, we are calculating E is equal to C star D. So here in just three steps, we are able to calculate the E value if we are using parallelism. So this is a great advantage. Now, what are the bugs? So how we can assumptions can be made related to these bugs. One is problems in a control flow. So here the bug assumptions for the data flow testing strategies is the control flow, which is generally correct, and that something has gone wrong with the software so that the data objects are not available when they should be. So here silly things are being done to the data objects. Also, if there is a control flow problem, we expect it to have some symptoms that can be detected by using the data flow analysis. Now, the data flow graphs. In general, the data flow graphs, which is a graph which consists of nodes and directed links, and these links generally we represent with arrows. So we should have in a data flow graph, they consist of nodes and directed links, and these nodes and directed links generally we represent the links by using arrows on them. So here the data flow is between the data objects in the data flow graph. So the data flow graph not only shows the flow of data, it also shows the deviation between the data objects that need to be implemented. So data flow graphs, what we are using, they not only show the flow of data, but they also show the deviation between the data objects that need to be implemented. So how these data objects state and usage? Data objects state and usage. Data objects can be in three states, that is created, linked, and used states. Of course, we represent by using them DKU. So they can be used in two distinct ways. One is in the calculation part and the other way in control flow graph path. So here we are going to represent these states by using some symbols, and some of the possibilities of these symbols is D. So D, which defines created and initialized. So here D means defined, created and initialized. The second symbol what we use for denotion is K. K means killed, undefined and released. Whether we can kill directly or indirectly. U, another symbol, means used. So here U we use when we are using for something. So we somewhere we are going to use in the program for something. Then we use U symbol. C, which is used for the calculation part. So whenever we do calculations, in calculations, we will be using C. If we are doing any calculations, then we will be using the C. Then another symbol is P, which is used in a predicate for operation purpose. So every symbol in the data flow graph has got some meaning, and each symbol is having some description. So here we are discussing about the 5 symbols. One is a D, K, U, C, P. So what is meant by D? D means defined. So here the object is defined explicitly when it appears in the data declaration, or we can declare the object or define the object implicitly when it appears on the left hand side of the assignment statement. So always whenever we define the object, what we are defining will be to the left side of the assignment operation. So here, suppose if I am saying int A, so A has to be given some value. So A is equal to 8. Where is A? A is to the left side. So here when we define, they can also be used to mean that the file has been opened, or dynamically allocation objects has been allocated, or something is pushed onto the stack. So defined can also be used to mean that the file has been opened, or dynamically allocated object has been allocated, or something is pushed onto the stack. Now coming to the second symbol, that is K, killed, released, undefined. So when an object is released and it is no longer in use, then it is known as killed object. So here when we say that killed object, which is similar to an undefined object. So the object that is not available in the segment is known as an undefined object. For example, a loop, what we can see in Fortran, say, suppose that A is equal to 8. First, we have defined the object by assigning a value 8 to it. And in an other assignment operation, suppose if we have declared A is equal to 11. So now if I ask the question, what is the value of A? You will answer 11. So here, what happened to the previous value of A? So first we have defined the A value as A, and later stages we have defined the A value. We have assigned the A value with 11. So what happened to that A? That A is being killed and 11 is being refined. So how is the A killed? A is killed directly, indirectly, sorry. A is being killed indirectly. So indirectly we are killing the value 8 by assigning the value 11 to it. So therefore the value of A is 11. Here define and kill are complementary operations. That is, they generally come in pairs and one is going to do the opposite of the other. Now coming to use or usage. So here the used variable for any computation is use. That is C, which we are using for any computation. And whenever we use these variables now they will be to the right side of the assignment statement. So previously while defining, it is left side of the assignment statements. Now whatever the values we are using, that will be towards the right side of the assignment statements. And we can also use them in predicate, such as if z greater than 0. So to evaluate the flow of controls we will be using. Hence, we can say usage values or usage variables, they are used both in predicate and computational purpose. So we are going to use for predicate and computation. So we are going to use for calculation purpose, or we are going to use for predicate purpose, computational purpose. Now coming to the data flow anomalies. So here what we mean by anomaly means, an anomaly is a situation or a condition where an object is defined but not used. So starting itself, we have discussed there are two types of anomalies that come in data flow testing. One is using a variable without defining. The second one is defining a variable but not using anyway. So here the anomaly is a situation or a condition where the object is defined but it is not used. For suppose if we let us take this particular example here. If a greater than 0, then x is equal to 1, else x is equal to -1. A is assigned with value 0 thrice, then a is equal to b plus c. So here we can notice that the object a is defined thrice to 0. But what is the use of defining thrice to 0? So here we have to test the condition. Whenever we have to define it before. So after that, if we assign 3 times, there is no use. Of course, there is no need that this may not lead to any bug or any problem, because if the variable a is being declared as a global variable, then the default value will be 0. So in that case, it's no problem if it is a local variable. So what is the use of defining it 3 times after using it? So we have to declare it, we have to assign the value to it before using it in the predicate, that is before using it in the computational purpose. Understood? So from the above example, what we noticed is defining a thrice to 0 where the anomaly occurs. So here there are 9 different possible 2-letter combinations of these things. That is a D, K, and U. So the 9 different possibilities or sequence of actions, what we can do. Some are bug states, some are suspicious or dangerous states, and some are the normal states. Here the first possibility, 2-letter combination, that is DD. So it results in a suspicious state where an object is defined twice. So if the result in a suspicious state where the object is defined twice, if we are going to define it twice, of course it is harmless, but we have to suspect. Why we have? See, the previous value will be lost by defining again. Now DK. So D means define, K means kill. So we are defining, then immediately we are killing. So here there is a probability of probably it can lead to a bug. So there is no use in declaring, creating it and killing it immediately. DU, it's a normal. So this is the normal case. Here DU means the object is defined, then it is used. So we can use the object after defining it. So it is the normal case. Now coming to KD. KD means killing. After that we are defining. So there is already that particular data object is defined. that first we killed, then again we have defined. So here we can say instead of defining, redefined. So first we killed that particular object, then we redefined it. So an object is being killed and redefined. Coming to KK. So KK is harmless, but probably it can lead to bug. So of course, killing repeatedly is not a problem. Okay, already you have that person is dead. Again, if you kick him, there is no problem. But it is a bug. So why should we? Okay, why should an killed object need to be again re-killed? So it can lead to, probably it can lead to a bug. Next, killing and using. Ultimately, it is a bug. So after killing, how you can use? So you have killed it first, then you are trying to use the killed object. So once after killing it, you cannot use it before without again redefining it. So KU is a bug. UD. So it is normal situation because you are using and defining, redefining. So already defined object you are using, again you are redefining it. UK, after using, you are killing, normal. So once our work is completed, at the time of termination, anyway, we are going to kill that object or transaction. So there is nothing false. So this is a normal case. UK is a normal case. UU, that is also normal. Repeatedly, you can use any number of times, any object. So that is also not a problem. So these are the 9 different possibilities of with the 2-letter combinations of by using this D, K, and U. So here, the 3 variables D, K, U. So they represent the representation of these anomaly states. So in addition to the above 2-letter situation, there are 6 single letter situations what we can see. One is minus D, which is okay. This is just the first definition along this path. So if we are first defining that particular object, then we have to represent like this. First time if you are going to use, possibly there could be a problem because first time you cannot, without using this, you cannot use. So you have to DU. You have to define and then use. If you directly, if you try to use a variable that is not being declared, then it is a problem. And K, which is also an anomaly, without declaring, if you try to kill it. So without birth, can you kill anything? No. First it has to take the birth, then only you can kill. Now K, so normal. So you are killing after killing afterwards. So after using, killing. Next U minus. So not normal. So U minus is possibly an anomaly. It is not normal. Not normal. Not normal. Normal kada, not normal. Okay. And D, possibly anomalous. Okay. So these are the situations. So 6 single letter situations. Besides the double letter situations, what we have seen earlier 9, these are the single letter situations. So all these situations we will be using while we are drawing the data flow graph. So in data flow graph, we are going to use all these situations. Understood? Now let us see what is a data flow anomaly state graph. So here the data flow anomalies, they define an object to be in one of the following 4 additional states, that is KDUA. Okay, so here the KDUA. So here you can see KDUA, capital letters, KDU, small letters. So we should not get confused between these capital letters and the small letters. Here, these capital letters, they denote the states of the variable. And these small letters, they denote the program action. So the actions we represent, that is the processing steps we represent by using small letters. And the capital letters, they represent the states. So here, this is the control graph where K, U, D, and A, these are the 4 different states what we have. And these K, D, U, A are steps. Here DK, D, K, U, U, D, U, all these are nothing but they are the actions. So if you are D, so whenever you use a D, you are coming to defined state. Whenever you use U, you are coming to used state. Whenever it goes, something goes here, that means K, killing. When you kill it, it will become undefined. And problem, so killing before using, or killing, defining and immediately killing, they may lead to anomalies. So you are creating immediately, you are killing it. So it is an anomaly. Killed and trying to use it, it is an anomaly. So these are this is how we can represent. So more precisely we can represent. So don't get confused with these capital letters and small letters. So these are the 2-letter states. So 2, KU, DK, and DD. So these are the situation states. And these are the actions, these small letters, these arrow marks, the links, they say the actions what we are performing between these states. Understood? Okay, fine. So here data flow state graphs. So here the data flow state graphs, they differ in processing of anomalies. The data flow state graphs, they are used in differing in processing of anomalies. And here the choice, it depends on the application what we are using, the language and the context. So the anomalies what arises depends on the application where we are using, the language what we are using, and the context of that particular situation. So based on these things, the anomalies, they depend. So based on the situations, based on the place, based on the person, based on the state, so the choice of the anomalies, they are going to depend. Now, static versus dynamic anomaly. So how to detect a static versus a dynamic anomaly? So what are static anomalies? What are dynamic anomalies? So here, static analysis, which is an analysis that is done at the compile time. So if you are going to do the analysis at the compile time, then we say that it is an static analysis. So here the source code is checked and the quality is improved by removing the bugs in the program. And the syntax errors are detected in the static analysis. Why we detect is to improve the quality of a document. And these documents are to be analyzed and checked by using any sort of tools. And if any problem such as data flow anomalies, they can be detected by using static analysis methods. Then it is then it does not belong to any sort of testing. It belongs to a language processor. So here static analysis tools, they are typically used by using some sort of tools. So static analysis are tools we are going to typically use, are typically being used by using certain tools. And where we are going to do this particular static analysis, we are going to do this static analysis in the design phase, so that the whole model can be analyzed and the inconsistencies that can be deleted if we are doing at the design phase. So static analysis can be used in the detection of security related problems. For detecting the security related problems, we will be using the static analysis. Then coming to the dynamic anomalies, where we use dynamic analysis is being done at the runtime. Dynamic analysis, what they do, they detect the anomalous situations at the runtime with some of the data structures like arrays, pointers, records, etc., etc. Okay, so here data flow testing, whenever we do data flow testing, insufficient of static analysis has to be occurred. So for data flows, insufficiency of static analysis. This insufficiency can be because of dead variables. So by validation of these dead variables, although it is often possible to prove that the variable is dead or alive at a given point of the program, the problem may be unsolvable. So such situations, and in arrays, that is in the validation of pointers in arrays. So here arrays are problematic in that. So here the array is defined or killed at a single object, but reference to it is done at some specific location within that particular array. So here array pointers, they are usually dynamically calculated to know whether these values are within the boundary range or out of the boundary range. Then validation of pointers for records and pointers. So validation of pointers for records and pointers. So here the array problem and the difficulty with the pointers is a special case of multi-part data structure. Of course, we have the same problems with records and the pointers, pointers also to them. So in the case of records, files are created and the names of such files are dynamically known. And without execution, there is no way to determine the state of such objects. Then dynamic address for dynamic subroutine calls. So here the subroutine or the function name, which is a dynamic variable in a call, what is being passed, or a combination of subroutine names and data objects, which is constructed on a specific path. So here there is no way without executing the path to determine whether the call is a correct call or not. And the second reason is false anomalies. So identifying false anomalies on an unachievable path. So here anomalies, they don't occur when the path of the object is not completed. So such anomalies we call as false anomalies. And here the problem of identifying whether the path is completed or not is not solved. Next, recoverable anomalies and alteration state graph. So what constitutes an anomaly? That depends on the context. As we have said earlier, it depends on the context. It depends on the application what we are using. It depends on the language. It depends on the semantics. So Hung, he provided 2 anomaly state graphs to overcome this. Next, concurrency, interrupts, and system issues. So here anomalies, they become more sophisticated while moving from single processor surrounding to multi-processor environment. So here the main purpose or the task of the interrupt is to develop the correct anomalies, which is even performed in true concurrency or pseudocode concurrency. So here the objects of the systems, they do integration testing for detecting the data flow anomalies at the runtime, which was not possible using context level testing. So although static analysis methods, they have their own limitations, and they are worth using and continuing in any language processing designs that has better static analysis or methods, especially for data flow anomaly detection. And this is also good because it means there is less for us to do as a tester, and we have far too much to do as it is. And finally, we will close the session here. That's all for now. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, for more updates, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon. Thank you.